Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 8th day of April. This, the year of our Lord 2022. I will be discussing the law recently passed by the Florida legislature and signed by Governor DeSantis, entitled Parental Rights in Education. Often the law is defamed with the lie, "Don't say gay." How did this law provoke the Disney Corporation to risk its reputation as a family place, a kid-friendly place, a happy place, a safe place for vacation? They risk that in defiance of the law. A secondary title for this report could be, "Does the State Own Your Children?" Perhaps when you deliver your children into the hands of the state system of education or indoctrination, they are yours no longer, but wholly owned by the all-knowing state. In Florida, the governor and the legislature have decided to oppose state ownership of children. When Governor DeSantis signed the bill, he announced it as a parental rights bill that bans teachers from giving classroom instruction on, quote, sexual orientation or gender identity, end quote, in kindergarten through third grade. He said, in Florida, we not only know that parents have a right to be involved, we insist parents have a right to be involved. Those who insist that they have the right to sexually exploit young children immediately cast the bill as "Don't say gay." But the bill, all 7 pages of it, does not mention the word gay. The 3 co-hosts of the Oscars recently mocked it, repeatedly saying gay during their monologues. DeSantis gave it right back to them, saying, quote, "If the people who held up degenerates like Harvey Weinstein as exemplars and as heroes and as all that, if those are the types of people that are opposing us on parents' rights, I wear that like a badge of honor," end quote. He went on to say that what they hope to do with their slogans and their false narrative is to camouflage their true intentions. It was expected that any time any state legislature tried to protect the state's children from gender identity indoctrination, there would be angry pushback. But who would have thought that the Walt Disney Company would risk its reputation to go all in to defend the proposition that 5-year-olds should be exposed to sexualized content in public schools? And Disney committed to further sexualizing their content aimed at young children. Disney came out swinging, did not mask the true intentions of the Walt Disney Company. The company's statement said, quote, "Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts. And we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that," end quote. That statement was a declaration of war in the culture wars currently being waged across the country. Meanwhile, Pixar, Disney's animation studio, pressured the company to be more gay-friendly, and the company quickly agreed. One has to wonder whether it's possible for Disney to be even more gay-friendly, but the company's determined to try. The attitude of Disney is not normal. It's not normal for a once family-friendly company to presume that the rights of a tiny sexual minority take precedence over the rights of parents to raise their children as they see fit. The education indoctrination system backed and funded by the Walt Disney Company wants your children to be sexualized or groomed, if you prefer, in any way they decide to do it. Parents, in their view, are to have no say in the matter. In order to destroy the old system of intact families raising their children, they want a new normal where they can own your kids. They have the exclusive right to decide what's best for them, even if that includes perverted sexual degeneracy. Most so-called Republican politicians, media pundits, media stars are not like DeSantis. That is, they don't have his courage and his sense of what the mainstream actually wants to accomplish. They crave respectability and above all else, and will always water down the message to keep from being labeled a nut or outside cocktail party conversations. No, instead of having the courage to resist, as has DeSantis, they remain as accessories to a project of sexualizing and destroying the emotional well-being of children for political gain. Many people seem to derive some type of perverted glee from children being mutilated and sterilized in a new gender identity. Take the President of the United States, for example. This is what he tweeted about the Florida bill. Quote, "I want every member of the LGBTQ community, especially the kids who will be impacted by this hateful bill, to know that you're loved and accepted just as you are. I have your back. My administration will continue to fight for the protection and safety you deserve, end quote. That would be plenty, folks, from the president, but it gets worse. The Heritage Foundation revealed what the administration is seeking from the administration's own fact sheet. Quote, social affirmation, adopting gender-affirming lifestyles, hairstyles, clothing, name, gender pronouns, restrooms, and other facilities at any age. Puberty blockers, using certain types of hormones to pause pubertal development during puberty. Hormone therapy, testosterone hormones for those who were assigned female at birth, estrogen hormones for those who were assigned male at birth from early adolescence on. Gender-affirming surgery, top surgery to create male chest shape or enhance breasts, bottom surgery on genitals or reproductive organs, female facial feminization or other procedures for adults or adolescents, end quote. The hormone therapy and surgeries, according to Heritage Foundation, could involve literal castration for boys and double mastectomies and hysterectomies for girls. To oppose this kind of sick and depraved behavior is now characterized as hateful. So the president's intent is as follows. I will protect you, not your parents. My administration will decide this for everyone. Once again, he used the word kids without any words for parents at all. Parents will only be needed as breeders in the new world, I suppose. The administration went on to affirm what it called goodness and justice of, quote, transgender affirming care, end quote. So what does this affirming care involve? Mutilating perfectly healthy children, sterilizing them, inducing permanent emotional scars and permanent sexual dysfunction. That's the policy of our government right now. But not many in either major political party have the courage to say it's wrong, and to do this needs to be stopped. The Walt Disney Company, as I said, has gone all in with its opposition to the Florida bill. Disney condemned the legislation. A Disney employee released videos from an all-hands Zoom staff meeting in which a Disney executive producer discussed implementing her gay agenda for the company's children's shows. She said Disney would intensify its agenda and make its content in the future more explicitly homosexual and transgender. She admitted openly that Disney is trying to indoctrinate children into accepting this new normal. Parents across the country heard her loud and clear. They're voting with their pocketbooks and their feet. Many are saying, you see that empty space in line there to buy tickets, Mr. Mouse? That's mine. Disney announced at the same time it's okay, now that COVID is over, for Mickey and Minnie to hug your kids again and to sign autographs for them. In other words, folks, please keep bringing your kids, chumps, so we can sexualize and groom them and have you pay us to do it. It was a happy place once, full of a lifetime of memories for many people. Joan and I had very little money at the time of our wedding 44 years ago, but we drove there for our honeymoon. We went through Epcot when only the American exhibit was finished. When my daughter was 5 or 6 years old, we took her there, and we went back each year after that she was still with us. I used to go once a year with friends to play golf on the Disney courses. Many stories are appearing in the media from families who tell the same lifetime appreciation for the place. It was happy. It was also clean and safe. There were no trash to contend with, no street muggers, no pickpockets to worry about. A family could relax with their children as long as they could afford to pay the premium price for it. Now it's still clean, but it's no longer safe. In fact, it's now a very dangerous place for children. That's the sad part. Governor DeSantis reacted to the Disney political outrage and dissemination of false information by threatening to revoke the Reedy Creek Improvement Act. That bit of legislation in place since 1968 allowed Disney the privilege of governing itself instead of falling under the authority of Orange and Osceola counties. It exempts Disney from virtually all regulation, and in fact, Disney is its own government. It's not required to abide by any of the regulations placed on other Florida corporations. Disney does not have to worry about zoning or building regulation when it constructs buildings or roads. If there's a fire, you call the Disney Fire Department. If you must call 911, you get a Disney operator. In addition, Disney is exempt from the copyright laws, which without them, the exemption would have allowed their intellectual property to enter the public domain many years ago. The reason for such an agreement is obvious: to attract Disney and the vast amount of money it brings to the state of Florida. The deal was working fine for everybody until Disney decided it was no longer in the entertainment business, but was instead an LGBTQ lobbying organization. DeSantis now says that he opposes such special privileges in the law, so the agreement might just need to be revoked. Taking on Disney is no small thing. The Walt Disney Company is a global media and entertainment giant. It dominates the media with a total 52% market share. It owns the ABC television network, cable networks, including ESPN and other TV networks, 277 radio stations, and publishing companies. Since Disney owns much of the media and the rest is in their camp, DeSantis will only get negative coverage. I can guarantee you that, folks. The real leaders and the leaders we need are rendered invisible by media enemies. We in America are in grave difficulty right now because the interests of the ruling elite no longer coincide with ours. The media functions to mislead us, to disinform, and to propaganda ministry for the ruling elite. Anyone who dissents from their narrative is demonized as a domestic terrorist or white supremacist. If you use gender pronouns or want to use a public restroom with the words men or women on the door, you are oppressing the transgendered. They won't quit. They won't quit, folks, until we're all reduced to proles and they own our children. Finally, folks, are these people idiots, lunatics, or just plain evil? Their policies seem like idiotic lunacy, but some of them are reasonably smart and reasonably sane, so I'm going with just plain evil. At least that's the way I see it, folks. Until next time, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.